expectations, Karini?
Nayantara, the street expectations are not very good. The sales, as we all know of it, have been a really muted sort of a number this time around for the quarter gone by. So on back of that, the revenue growth that we're looking at is 9,000 odd crores, which is an increase of close to 7.7%. But apart from the fact that revenue is only going to grow in single digits, what we're expecting is a dent on profitability, pressure on margins, pressure on the EBITDA performance. We're expecting 8.2% decline in their profitability, 5.2% decline in their EBITDA performance, and margins could contract a bit higher than 200 basis points. Now, why so much pressure on the margins? Firstly, raw material prices is something that continue to put pressure on all OEMs, and Hero also will be a victim of that. Apart from that, do remember there will be no benefits from the Haridwar plant. There will be no incentives rolled out from there. So that is another factor which could weigh on the margins, pulling down the performance even further. Relatively when you compare it with other OEMs. But yes, on back of that and on back of the fact that the growth and the sales have been muted in the quarter gone by, profits also could see a dent. What one needs to now understand from the management in their con call, in their address to all the shareholders and the media will be, what is the demand scenario right now? What is the offtake from the rural markets? Because that continues to be key for a player like Hero. What will be their product pipeline? What are the launches they've lined up? What's their game? What is their game plan for the scooter business? Because that's something they said they need to plug that gap in a big way. So that is something that one needs to watch out for. And apart from that, what has been the pickup in the export side of the business? Let's also bring on board Jay Thakkar, who's been with us, and talk a bit more about the auto pack. Jay, I mean, raw material prices clearly has been a big overhang on all the OEMs and all the ancillary players as well. But now that the muted demand is also at play, in the quarter gone by, we've seen the month of August and the month of September be fairly weak in terms of consumer offtake, consumer pickup, and bookings and inquiries all combined. What can we expect? Of course, Hero Moto Pole is not looking good, but what about the others? What are you estimating this time?
See, overall, I would say that last month we saw very sharp cut coming in the Nifty Auto, and I would say rather than most of these two-wheeler pack or the four-wheeler, they saw good amount of selling from the higher levels. I would say that the kind of pressure, selling pressure which we have witnessed from the higher levels, there is just going to be some bounce back coming from the current levels. Overall, the trend has definitely reversed as far as Nifty Auto is concerned from up to down, and I think on the upside now this index has a clear resistance at around the levels of 9700 levels. So more or less what can happen is that till Nifty is bouncing back, till the time we see some consolidation or a short covering happening in the markets, which has started since past couple of trading sessions, I think Nifty Auto can bounce back a little bit, but then the overall sentiment, the overall trend has definitely shifted from up to down. Near term, I think 9600 is a clear resistance. On the lower side, I would say that this index is likely to go and test the levels of almost 8500 again on the lower side. Now, as far as Hero MotoCorp is concerned, this stock too seems to have clearly shown a trend reversal from up to down. It has clearly broken down from its upward sloping parallel channel. The numbers are also signaling the same. They have seen a clear reversal, and the earnings, the profitability has also been hit. Now, what has happened, I would say in the short term, is that the stock as of now appears to be quite oversold, and we have seen a kind of a double bottom that's been formed on its momentum indicators. So what can happen is the fall can get arrested around the levels of 2750 as of now for the short term, and we can see some buying interest coming at the lower levels till the stock rebounds to the levels of 3100. But my overall idea would be, if at all you see 3100 levels going forward on Hero MotoCorp, that should be taken as an opportunity to exit from this stock, or else the aggressive traders can also create short positions, as the overall medium term target for Hero MotoCorp remains quite negative, and that would come to the levels of almost 2400.
Okay, so now let's move on to that segment of Markets Tomorrow where we get an expert to answer your queries. You can send them to us by email, by Twitter, or even on Facebook. Our expert today is, of course, Jay Thakkar. So, Jay, I'm going to now go on to the first viewer query. This is coming in from Pallavi Lamba. She writes in by email that she purchased 500 shares of Reliance Industries, priced at $1,250 a piece. What should she do with them? Jay, you know, Reliance Industries will be coming out with its earnings tomorrow. I'm sure this is something a lot of the viewers will want to know. How should they deal with Reliance Industries tomorrow? Typically, RIL comes out with its results around 5 to 6 p.m. post-closing bell.
Now, recently, I would say, Reliance, in fact, I would say rather outperform the current market fall which we have seen. In fact, it corrected quite less. It took a good support at its 200 daily moving average and has rebounded well from those levels. And that is one of the reason. We also seen some good reversal happening in the markets. In fact, in today's trading session as well, if we see, Reliance was one stock which was trading at the higher levels at the day's high till the end of today and till the end of the session. I would say this stock can continue its upward rally, or I would say a pullback till the levels of 1213. That is a max I see on the upside. Now someone has purchased at 1250, so I doubt that those levels will again be achieved, and we can see Reliance above those levels, or going back about 1300 levels. So 1213 is the level to exit from Reliance, I think, with the minimum of loss.
Okay, now we have one viewer, Sunil Sankanarayanan, sent us 3 queries. The first query is to do with Aurobindo Pharma, where he's purchased 250 shares, price at $740 a piece. Jay, what's your outlook when it comes to Aurobindo Pharma? Would you say that if you purchased shares at 740, hold, exit, accumulate, what would your advice be?
Neither, I would say definitely one should hold to this stock. The reason for that is the overall sentiment as far as the pharma index is concerned since past couple of months, or I would say a quarter or so, has been quite positive. In fact, as far as I remember, we had shared the report of ours at around 8100 levels of Nifty Pharma that it would climb above the levels of 10,000, 10,500, and it has happened so as anticipated. Now, as far as Aurobindo Pharma is concerned, I would say Nantara, this stock has clearly broken out from a downtrend line resistance, which is almost 2 years long downtrend line resistance on the daily chart. The stock recently has been consolidating, forming a wave 4 on the daily charts, but the probability of breaking out from this consolidation on the upside is quite high. In fact, in today's trading session as well, if you see Nantara, the stock was trading at the day's high till the end of the session. This stock in the
and service line